Okay, welcome back or welcome to Ted and Yogi's Pac-12 Adventure. We are rolling. Hard to believe where we are in the season into November, second week of the college football playoff. I'm Yogi Roth, Ted Robinson, of course, Michael Molinari, produced by Hayden Gray, and everything here that we do is courtesy of our friends at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. So, there's a lot of headlines, fellas. I mean, so let's start with the positive, at least in our eyes, I think. The college football playoff. Oregon, they're at 3. I thought they could have been at 2 in the most recent rankings, but they put them at 3. It seems to be strong in that position. They slide up a spot. Utah climbs into the top 25 at 24. I don't see much difference between them and other 3-loss teams. I think they'll take another leap. As we know, Ted, after you and I spent some time with Rick George, who's on the committee, the AD at Colorado last week, the amount of film they watch is much different than I'd imagine the coaches poll or the AP poll. Mm-hmm. So good news for the league in that regard. Some crossover games. San Diego State, they are still ranked. I think that's good just in terms of they put it on Arizona. If you're going to start comping things, Utah plays Arizona this weekend. And away we go with a lot of football left. So I'll start there as headline number one. What were your takeaways after that last night?
Yeah, I think in my view that was where Oregon should have been. Should have been 3. And I'm happy that the committee, and we did, as you referenced, Yogi, we did spend 1-on-2 time with Rick George, member of the committee, which was really enlightening for me. It's the first time I had spoken in a few years to someone who actually is sitting in that room. The games matter, which is good. That mouth from the South, Feinbaum guy went on ESPN, and of course he's just trying to draw attention to himself. But he, the other day, had Ohio State ahead of Oregon, disregarding the head-to-head game. The committee also flipped the order, disregarded the Michigan State-Michigan game, right? They put Michigan ahead after Michigan State's loss to Purdue. So I'm happy that Oregon ends up at 3. Utah did crack the top 25, so the Pac at least has a second team in. But I, like you, Yogi, was taken with we had about 30 minutes with Rick George on this, and the fact that it really, in his word, he said it's like being a scout, which he's been in his life before. He's looking and assessing the teams, not like we do oftentimes as fans and media members, but he's assessing it more like a scout prepping and breaking down for a game.
Yeah. So I want to bang around, Michael. I want to bang around head to head. Let's go hard. Where do you sit on that? And I wonder if we agree or disagree on this topic, because clearly it's going to continue to be a topic of conversation.
I think when the resumes are similar, then the only thing left is head to head. I don't agree that head-to-head matters when one team has played an incredible schedule and has an impressive body of work, and it's not even close. But when it comes down to 2 teams, and I think Oregon and Ohio State would fall into that category, 2 teams that have similar resumes, and some would argue Oregon's played a tougher schedule anyway. When it's head-to-head on, at Ohio State, I don't know how you can't have Oregon and Ohio State for that one example. I want to circle back for a second. First of all, Jimmy Hart of the WW World Wrestling Federation, the original Mouth of the South, the Honky Tonk Man's manager. So let's give him some credit. And then secondly, I think the most important thing that happened in the rankings this week wasn't that Oregon moved from 4 to 3. It's that Wake Forest lost, and I think that actually is a huge. That's one worry that's gone away for Oregon, that a team might sneak in. If Wake could run the table, it's hard to say how could they not have been in. So I think that in some way gives Oregon a little bit of insurance policy.
And Michael, it's well said. And let me just throw one last thing in here, Yogi. Given that this is clearly an SEC tilted process to begin with, that Alabama, as I often say, will have to lose 3 times to be totally eliminated from this process. Let's also say Oregon and Ohio State played each other. Michigan and Michigan State played each other, and they will all will play Ohio State, and Alabama and Georgia have only played, as we said, twice in the last millennium in the regular season. They may well play in their conference championship game. But again, in an equity that favors the SEC.
Yeah, and in the SEC, the Mouth of the South, I'm sure they're just keyed up for New Mexico State, Alabama this weekend. Thrilling football. Samford, Florida. Here we go. The next 2 weeks is just SEC 8 conference games at its finest. This is where I net out on the head-to-head. And I saw a lot of diatribe around this last night. Herbstreit, you felt like his annoyance. He was annoyed by that discussion last night. He went on social media and said his thoughts about it last night as well. I think this: if you have the same record when we don't play equitable schedules in this sport, and you've won in a head-to-head, that may be Ohio State and Oregon if they both win their conference championship. I don't know how you can't put that into consideration. So I know some fans, probably in other parts of the country, think Ohio State should be ranked higher. Based on what I would ask, they still haven't played anybody. Now, granted, their next 3 games are against 3 teams that are in the current college football playoff rankings, so we'll see what they look like. But that's kind of where I net out, that if you got the same record and you've beaten the team, when it's all said and done, I think you got to give them the nod. And to your point, Ted, the Big Ten thing will shake out.
It's a tie. You're right, Yogi. It's a tiebreaker, and I think that's what Michael was saying. If most other things are balanced, it is a tiebreaker. If there's an imbalance, no, the head-to-head can't take precedence. But here's the other thing that just, when Mike Oresco, the commissioner of the American Conference, came out with this last week after the first week of rankings, and he said, "Look, let's face it, this is an SEC invitational. An invitational is the key word. If you want to listen to the people that dismiss the head-to-head in the Oregon-Ohio State question, we're now talking about, again, being totally subjective. We're back to where we were in the era of polls, and everything is about opinion, and nothing on the field matters. It's all eyeball test." And that's the one caveat that comes out of the CFP conversations that is worrisome to me, even with Rick George, is that our charge is still to find the 4 best teams. That makes it a subjective, i.e. invitational. And I don't think anybody wants that. We lived through that for years with the polls.
Yeah. Okay. So just a little recruiting nerd fest for you. Cincinnati, the day we're recruiting, or the day we're filming this today on Wednesday, just got a commitment from a young man named Luther Richardson. I think Luther is one of my top 10 high school quarterbacks in the country. I think is a lock to be a winner. And he was recruited by some Power 5 schools. He plays for our friend Trent Dilfer in Tennessee. I think he's thrown like less than 20 incompletions all season. They're rolling. With that said, he just committed to Cincinnati. So, of course, my first message was, why do you go there? And their response was, they think Luke Fickell really is happy there. Them going into the Big 12, you can imagine what's going to happen. There's going to be an influx of resources into that program. So I just think that's interesting. Here we are with them on the outside in. They're who knows how many years away. I don't know the latest. Is it 2 years away from being in the Big 12? But I know a lot of SC fans who listen to this, and Luke Fickell was a name. So if you follow the breadcrumbs of recruiting, just a little tidbit there as we kind of close off the loop in the CFP.